Welcome back to another episode of The Underknown. I'm your host, Jan Perillo, and today's guest is a gentleman from Ireland named Rory Gillanders. This episode today is a little bit different than some of the ones that we've had in the past. Let me explain how. The Underknown has always been about finding underknown artists, hence the name of the podcast, Underknown. The artists I've had on so far, Dylan LeBlanc, David Ramirez, Victoria Bigelow, Pip Pony, Florentines, Dan Mangan, Lizzie Esau, Meg Elsier. These are artists that I do believe are underknown. I think they should be way bigger than they are, but they have careers. They have really good notoriety in smaller circles. They deserve to be much bigger than they are. They're not at the level of Wilco, Jason Isbell, St. Vincent, anyone like that. To pick your favorite indie artist, put them in there, whether it's the Strokes, Arctic Monkeys, whoever you think. These guys are all really great independent artists that should probably be bigger than they are. Therefore, I listen to them, I love their music, and I think that they're underknown, and I wanted to, in my own way, promote their music. Now, they all have bigger careers in this space than I do. They all have more of an audience than I do. And quite frankly, most of them coming on this show is a bigger favor to me than I am doing to them. I'm trying to promote them. I'm trying to get them out there. I'm trying to get their story out, but they have bigger audiences. My hope was always to get a bigger audience so that I could be helping people get their music out there. Rory is the first person with a really small audience that I'm hoping I can help bring their music to more people. Rory is a very talented Irish artist. He has been doing this for quite some time, for some years, and he'll get into his story in this episode. But Rory's really been one that's been struggling at a different level than I think some of these other musicians that I've talked to have struggled. And he's been trying. He's been out there trying. He talks about some of the anxiety that he's had with performance, and we talk about the struggle that he's had getting his music heard. And I think it's a really interesting conversation. And my hope for the future of this podcast is to get musicians that are reasonably successful, like, the Dylan LeBlancs, David Ramirez's, Victoria Bigelow's, people like that, to the very successful, like the Dan Manigans, to the up-and-comers, like the Florentines. I think Florentines have a great future ahead of them. I think Lizzie Esau has a great future ahead of her. Meg Elsier. These are newer artists out there that I think are really going to go somewhere with their careers. And someone like Rory, who I think just hasn't caught a break. I think most of the musicians that I talk to will tell you that there is an element of luck. Yes, of course you have to be talented, and all of these musicians that I've spoken to are super talented. You don't get anywhere without having some talent, and I don't care if you listen to somebody and you hate their music and you think they suck or whatever it might be. Like I used to, throw that word around a lot, like somebody sucks. And there are some people that might have made it that you don't think have talent, and maybe you're more talented then. But they have something. They're not famous for absolutely no reason. They haven't gotten a million plays for absolutely no reason. Yeah, maybe sometimes a one-hit wonder. But for the most part, it gets earned. And people put in a lot of work. And Rory's going to tell you in this episode about a lot of the work that he's put in through his life, through his career, into this craft. And unlike some of the other musicians that I've had on, it hasn't paid off in the same way. So I think this is a really interesting story for him to tell, and for us to go through on this episode. We're going to go into this episode with a song called Waiting. This is one off of one of Rory's earlier albums, and it's a great song. It's the first song, as you'll hear, that really turned me on to Rory, and we'll see you on the other side.
Watch the bullets fly, break the midnight sky. Away.
Rory, thanks so much for joining today. Appreciate spending the time on the Underknown. Rory, we were just listening to Waiting, and you contacted me out of the blue on Instagram, I think, and Waiting was the second song I listened to, and it's a really good song, man. And I was surprised. We've talked about this a little bit, that you are definitely the most underknown artist I've had on the program so far. Yeah, wait, you have a bunch of really good songs, and Waiting was one that really struck me. I like it a lot. So let's start off with just kind of talking to me about a little bit about your career so far, and talk to me a little about the song "Waiting." In particular, it's a little bit of a lively song, and it's off one of your earlier EPs, right? It's not one of your more. It's not off your most recent EP. Yeah. Hmm. Wow. That's re- That's one of those. It's one of those songs where you say that you don't know how to describe your music, and I know that you talk about some, like, you have a few like deeper uh, songs, maybe some of them would be considered depressing or whatever. But I kind of just think of them as like emotional. You're just kind of talking about life and talking about love, talking about emotion. Like, I don't really look at it as like, they're not like, it's not Nirvana type of, it's not like super super sad. I mean, I just feel like it's emotional type of stuff. And so when you listen to a song like Waiting, yeah, I mean, the tempo is maybe more upbeat, but um yeah, it's just one of those songs that kind of that it is really easy to like right away, because sometimes it takes a little while to get into a song, to like, you don't hear it right away. Like, it takes a few listens to appreciate it. But Waiting was just one of the ones where, you know, like I said, when I listen to some of these songs, when somebody contacts me, or when I listen to an artist, like, you don't always like I don't always have like 20 minutes to get to appreciate a song. But Waiting just is one of those songs that just strikes you right away. Like you're saying, happened with your audience. It's just like it was immediate. Yeah. So how are you getting your music out there? I mean, because we talked about, like, in the before we started recording, we talked about how hard it is to get people to listen to, actually, both of us, really. I mean, it's hard to get out there. It's hard to get your name out there. It's hard to get known. Um, and sometimes, I mean, it is important to be talented, but it's not the only thing, right? I mean, there's other things to getting out there. I mean, do you sometimes you need to know something that can definitely help. There certainly is luck involved. I mean, there certainly is a bit of luck, but you know, I don't think it generally doesn't come without talent. I mean, if you think about the people that, like, I've met through doing this podcast, I mean, all of them I think are super talented. Um, Yeah, I did. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I feel like those, yeah. Yeah. I mean, those guys are super talented. They're kids. I mean, they're lucky that they're taken off at, 18 years old, but they're super talented. They got this such catchy music. But, they still have a long way to go to really to make it. You know what I mean? They're great. You listen to some of the people that I've talked to, like David Ramirez or Dylan LeBlanc, or the first two episodes that I did, or Victoria Bigelow. The first, those are the first three episodes. These guys have, 100,000 people listening to them on Spotify. They've been doing it for a long time, and these guys are so talented. It's like, how do you get to be on that next level, like a Jason Isbell type level, who's obviously super talented, but it's not always a talent barrier that gets you from being, a musician to being, like, kind of really famous. It's not just talent. There's other things at play. And so for you, like, how do you get yourself out there more to get yourself heard a lot more? Because I do think you have good tunes, but they're not being heard, like you said. I mean, you are, like we said in the beginning, like, you're truly the underknown musician, the most underknown musician that I've had here so far. For better or for worse. I know that's not what you want to be, but but you are. Yeah, yeah. Where are you? Where are you located? Okay. Mm. I don't know. I don't know. Um, it's so one of the things that it's one of the things that you know you bring up. It might be a different set. It might be a little bit of a different skill set, like you said, like to make it today too. Like, when I look at, um, I had Lizzie Esau on a couple of weeks ago, and the Florentines even, like, but these people seem to make like pretty good social media videos. Like, she's got, like her social media presence is pretty good, and so maybe, it's not, yeah, it's not just about making good music, right? You have to have that piece too, but you also have to be able to get out there and, you know, um, can you do both? And it's a, like, I mean, if you think about, like, Justin, not Justin Timberlake, who's the other, who's the guy that made it from basically TikTok or YouTube? I forget his name, but, like, he was, yeah, Bieber. Yeah, 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 yeah. I mean, he basically. I mean, I know he's got talent. He's not my thing, but um, he, has essentially made it because, and there's more and more people like that make it off of their social media platform, not because they get signed. Yeah, I do. Do you guys still have radio stations over there in Ireland? Do you still listen to the radio, or what do you do? Yeah. Mhm. Hmm. I do. What about in England? Because I've seen like a lot of the bands that I've found have been, like the Florentines and Pit Pony and some of the other ones that I've found that I've tried to get on the show have been English. I've found like even some of the ones that I really have liked that have been American have gone to England to make it, like Ben Steller. There have been bands like the Cardinals and things like that, which have all been English bands. I feel like more and more bands have been making it, by just touring around, whether it's Manchester, Newcastle, London. Like they seem to be a loop over there that they seem to do. You mentioned you lived in London for a while. I don't know if that's something that you've tried. Yeah. In your head. Yeah. What no when you perform, so you mentioned that you had some anxiety, which is really interesting because it's always interesting to me when a musician, like it's almost like so you're doing something that you really fear, but you feel like you got to do it in a way. You know what I mean? Like you're nervous doing it, but you got to do it, right? Yeah. 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 So you perform both with a band and solo, right? Okay. Yeah, I do. Like, what are we doing? Yeah, why are we practicing if we have nothing to practice for? Yeah, 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 yeah. Some of the songs that you have, I mean, when I listen to them, they really do lend themselves to either being stripped down or being part of a full band. I mean, you can really hear them, potentially being, like even heavier than what you've done, or even really really mellow. I mean, that do you write them all on acoustic and then bring them to the band? Yeah, yeah, it is. Well, I think especially in a live setting, not necessarily on the radio or when you're listening, because you can be in different moods. And the thing that I kind of heard in your music is like, and I've thought about this, with a bunch of different people, but you know, you could hear a lot of your songs, like you could have, version A, acoustic, version B, electric and heavy, and it would be cool. Like, it would be cool because you just have like a different version of the song, different like feeling, different structure, not maybe not different structure, just different weight to the song. And and they both be really good, you know what I mean? Because it just feels like both versions would really stand up. And that's one of the things that I really liked, in your music. And some of the, just some of the guitar work and some of the songs was really good. And I don't know if that's you playing electric, or if probably not. Yeah, yeah. I mean, but it was good. A lot of it was really good stuff. It was really, kind of just interesting. I thought it had an interesting dimension to a lot of your songs, to it. So it was really cool. So yeah, well, that's all right. So you're not an electric guitar player. Mhm. Right, right, right. So when did you start playing guitar? Like, when did you start playing guitar and singing? Like, how did you get into music to begin with as a kid? Hmm. Hmm. Wow. I bet. So you started guitar pretty late. Were were you a singer before? Did you sing before that? Before, or did you kind of do both at the same time? Yeah. Well, I can see being, so the first time that you played must have been an open mic. And I can see being scared shitless on that open mic because, you weren't a musician, you hadn't grown up doing this, you wrote your own songs. I guess you weren't doing covers at that open mic, I guess, right? So you're playing your own stuff. What was it? Be My God? Okay, yes. So that you released that one in 2017. Yeah. So that one was so that's one of the first ones that you did on an open mic, and that's so to get up there and do that one. Um, yeah, I can understand you being scared shitless. You didn't play guitar very well. You weren't sure that you could sing very well, and you're playing a song that's kind of like putting yourself out there, vulnerable, and you do it in front of a crowd of people. Like, yeah, I'd be scared shitless too. So I think an open mic is also, I mean, for me, so I don't think I've ever done an open mic. So, I started playing in bands, and we always had we were always playing, like, we started off with parties and stuff like that, but then we quickly got to bars and everything. So I grew up with like sound checks and, people mixing and all that kind of stuff. So to go to do a open mic where you're basically going up there and you're just kind of like, you get two songs and you have no idea how it sounds. It's not for you. Like, you're not like, and you're not a singer anyway. It's like, how does it sound? And you have all these people that aren't there to hear you really. You know what I mean? It's like, that to me is terrifying. Like, that's truly like, I mean, that to me is a especially like the guy that goes before you might be great. They might be just horrible, and the whole room is like, oh my god, this is just awful music. It's like, you don't know, even if people, I don't know. To me, an open mic night is that's intimidating to me. So for you to get up there and do that with the limited experience that you had is pretty brave, I think. I mean, I don't know. I guess it's the way a lot of people start, but to me, that's brave. Yeah, you know what to do now, right? Yeah, you can imagine how it probably sounded that first night. Have you ever done busking? Yeah, I bet. The what Americans know of busking in Europe, I think, is probably all from the movie Once. Yeah. Oh, is he? Okay, he might have been. Yeah, I mean, watching. I mean, watching that guy do it, it's just like you think everybody's super successful doing it because because the way he does it. But I'm sure it's. What's that? I think a lot of musicians do. I feel like you got to have. It's all about the voice, really. I mean, if you can scream like Hansard can and just draw attention to yourself. I mean, I feel like, yeah, I do. Why not? So what do you bring? Like, how do you do it? You bring like you have a power supply of some sort, and you bring a little amp. I mean, what do you do? Yeah, right. Yeah, it is, and you're still performing, right? I mean, you're performing in a different environment, and you're trying to. It's got to be the best way to learn how to grab people's attention. I mean, you're really like nobody gives a shit about you, like literally. And so, if you can grab attention there, it's probably a pretty good skill. Do you do you sell anything when you do that? I mean, what do people do? You have CDs now? I mean, what do you do? What do you do? I mean, who has a CD player? Yeah, I mean, I guess you could have like one of those QR codes where they could scan and get like a whole page of like where to go to listen to you, whether they have wherever. Yeah, that's cool. That's a good idea. Can you buy stuff like that relatively cheap? I would think that you'd be able to buy something like that and maybe even put some artwork around the like, so just make it kind of cool if it's relatively cheap because you don't have to print music. Yeah. Yeah, that's a good idea. I like that. Put your name on there or something like that, so they know where they got it. They know why they have it in their shopping bag or whatever. That's a good idea. No, I like that idea. So when you got it, yeah, no, 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 yeah, you're gonna see it everywhere. It'll be another idea that you have, and someone else is gonna make millions with it, and you're gonna be like, damn, yeah. No, that is a good idea. I like that idea. You should, yeah, you got to tell me how that goes once you do it. if you want to go real retro, you could do it with like one of those 8 tracks. You like put it on an eight. Just go collect a bunch of 8 tracks and put a sticker on them. You got to get some of those cheap at a like a thrift shop or whatever you guys call them there. Charity shop, yeah. It's yeah, I do. Well, if you don't think that, then get out of the business. Honestly, I mean, stop doing it. If you don't think your music's good enough to get out there, then forget it. You know what I mean? So, so let's let's talk about some of your other music for a little bit here. So when how do you record your music? Where do you go? What do you do? I mean, because recording time isn't necessarily cheap. Do you do it in do you do it yourself? Do you go to a studio? What do you do? Nice. Yeah, that's the key. Yeah, I mean, it's so hard. I mean, if you think about what you were saying before, like the music venues, so many of them are closing down. You know, the music studios, so many of them are closed. Like it's so hard to make this ecosystem. And when you see something like Spotify, it's like, I think yeah, I mean, oh, well, AI. Oh, I mean, I don't even want to get started on that. But you think about like the 0.03 cents, 0.00. Yeah, what is it? Point 3 cents or 0.03 cents. You make a song or something like or a play. And so I was reading like somebody like makes 1 million plays and they get like 1,200. Like it's some crazy. So like there's some crazy like you make almost no money. Whereas if you sold 10,000 records back in the day, that's like, that's $100,000. It's like, it's totally different. So the economics are completely different and it just doesn't support that whole ecosystem that was there. But meanwhile, the people that are writing the technology that go behind Spotify are making a ton of money. And this guy's made so much money that he's now investing in AI weapon companies. And so like, love to be able to get away from Spotify, but then where do you go? Like, okay, so now I'm going to go to Apple. I'm going to go to Amazon. I mean, are any of those better? Where do you go to listen? Like we just discussed, radio stations aren't around anymore. Like, where do I go to hear? Where do I go to hear? Rory, Gillanders now. You know what I mean? Where do I find you if I don't have Spotify? It's like very very hard to get out of that ecosystem. You're not Taylor Swift. I'm not. You know, whoever the biggest Joe Rogan. No, I don't want to be Joe Rogan, but whoever the biggest podcasters are. So you're kind of stuck, especially at the smaller levels. But um, yeah, I was gonna do something where I kind of showed an example of how easy it is to make this AI music and just how like just crazy it is that it's the way that it's going and because it's I don't know what the end result is, but if we are losing all these live venues and things like that, we've already seen what AI Instagram models and things like that look like, and now we're going to have AI bands that look like those AI Instagram models. And, it's like, well, you can't see them live, but that's not going to matter because there's no live venues unless you have like the huge bands. And I don't know what the end result is here, but it's not, it's not looking great. There's got to be something that keeps all this stuff going, and I don't know what it is. Yeah, I mean, well, that could come. I mean, I think a lot of people hate the idea, but if you read something, you don't know how much of it was written by AI and how much was written by a person. You would probably like it less if you knew it was written by AI, but you don't know. And so, like you said, the lines are being blurred. And so, what happens? I mean, and I was talking to one of the artists the other day. And she was saying, I would like it if AI was used for something good. And I said, well, I happen to have another business where I do quite a bit with AI, and I know that they're doing things like AI can read cancer screenings with a much higher success rate than humans can. That's good, right? I mean, so there are some good things it does. It's just not in the arts and things like that. I mean, it's not. There's nothing. And so, like, how do you? And you can't control it. The genie's out of the bag. It's not controlled. And so, again, I don't know what's next with AI and where it goes. And but it's very difficult to think about. It's very difficult to talk to so many people that have been making art for their whole lives and just think about being replaced by a stupid machine. Well, exactly. I mean, and it's like, yeah. I mean, somebody put a lot of money into the AI band, right, to get them to 500,000 streams in 2 weeks or something like that. Well, great. I mean, so you got someone with no musical talent that made this AI band that now has, you know what I mean? It's like put it into a musician. Like you're, I don't know. It's development is it feels like development is not what it was. You think about back in the 70s and probably the 80s, you'd get 3-4 album deals, you'd have a development deal, and that's not the case anymore. You're lucky if you even get anyone to distribute music for you or do anything for you. So yeah, exactly. I don't know why it took this turn, Rory. I don't know why we took this turn. So let's talk about something happier. I think you hit on the point, though. I think there are still people, and you look at festivals, and you look at people that are gathered in these communities of this space where there's that human experience, and you're not going to get that with a hologram, at least not for many, many, many years. You're not going to get that with a hologram. You're not going to get that with this AI. And it is that experience of people gathered around sharing that experience together. And I think that's what the focus has to be. The only thing that I see as an impediment to that is all these places closing down. But there are still these places open, and people do still go to them. I mean, I still see plenty of Instagram feeds of live venues that are crowded for these smaller artists, and that's the hope for me, is that people still want that, and maybe there's a resurgence of it coming up. I mean, that's what I hope. Yeah, things are cyclical. Things are cyclical, you know. So what else do you do? So you have a job. You're not a full time musician, I'm guessing, right? Yeah. What do you do there in Ireland? Are you like a? Oh, nice. That's interesting. The back. So the back though, do you have to carry all the do you carry a bag, or are you in a car? Are you going to be able to go to, Germany or London or wherever you need to go to, play music with like the responsibilities that you have? Well, hopefully it gets delivered. If you quit, who's going to deliver it? Yeah, yeah. You can send her a postcard on Instagram. There you go. Yeah. So, what city would you go to in Germany? Where would you go? Okay. And so that's an easy flight from Ireland, obviously from Dublin. Yeah. Yeah, it would be interesting. And so they English speaking artists are what they listen to in Germany as well. That's kind of an ignorant question for an American, but I'm an American, so we ask ignorant questions. Yeah. I do. I know that I mentioned him earlier. Dylan LeBlanc. He lives in Norway now, and he spends a lot of time over like touring, continental Europe. So I mean, that's kind of. I think he likes it better than. I mean, I don't think he comes back to the U.S. He comes back, but I think he spends most of his time in Europe, and I think that's where he tours. I think that's because he's says that the live. He mentioned on the episode that he can draw a bigger crowd in continental Europe. They're more open to live music, so maybe the hope for music is over in is Europe. Yeah, and this country's so spread out. I mean, like for the I'm on yeah I'm on the west coast of the U.S. I'm in a place called Bend, Oregon, which is 3 hours from Portland, and yeah, it's far from we're pretty far from Portland. I'm about 6 or 8 hours from San Francisco, 6 hours from Seattle. So every place that you are in the U.S., like the U.S. is pretty spread out, And I'm flying to Finland tomorrow, and I know that you can kind of get everywhere from Finland in a couple hour flight. Whereas if I go to New York, it's 6 7 hour flight. It's U.S. is big and it's spread out and it's it's just different. But in Europe, you can get to so many different cities in a relatively short period of time. Like you're saying, it's a couple hours to get to Germany for you, which is a totally different culture. And it's probably a few hours to get from city to city. Whereas, I mean, people do tour in the U.S. in buses, but you have a decent amount. It's like 6 hours from like San Francisco to L.A. I mean, it's not undoable, but there's not a whole lot between. Yeah. So yeah, yeah, it's interesting. Have you ever been to America? Yeah, Nashville is Meg Eisler, the or Elsier. I'm sorry, Mega. I always call her Eisler. Mega Elsier is the last guest that I had on the podcast. She's living in Nashville now. I mean, Nashville is supposed to be an amazing scene as well. Yeah, it's there's a lot of different areas of the U.S. as well that are, but I've been hearing a lot about musicians in Europe, and the live scene in Europe has been kind of. I think you could be in the right spot, or maybe who knows? Maybe you just need a different place. Dan Mangan has been doing great over in up in Canada. He's made quite the name for himself up there. So I don't know. I don't think there's any right answer. It's just kind of finding the people that are appreciating your music and want to listen to you. They're out there somewhere. They have to be. Yeah, they have to be. Hopefully, they're listening right now. So, yeah, just 2 months. Yeah, exactly. Interview me now. 2 months. It's been 2 months. It's, no, no, it's not long at all. By now, I should have a million. Exactly. No, I've been doing it 2 months, and it's been really interesting. Trying to find artists that are first of all music that you like. Second, musicians that you want to talk to, and just trying to navigate the ecosystem. Just I'm learning a ton. I was, as I told you before, I was a musician back late '90s, and I've been out for a long time. A lot's changed since I was doing it. We used to lug our own, huge PA systems everywhere. We had our own vans that we would drive around. I didn't have we had a little bit of a crew, but it wasn't like, we were, we would hug it like lugging these huge bass bins and everything like that. It was totally different. So the landscape has changed completely since when I used to do it. So it's really interesting to hear how musicians today and bands today are navigating this, totally different environment. Spotify, Instagram, TikTok, all this stuff. Some of it I think there's some advantages, and I think there's a ton of disadvantages today that back compared to when I did it. When I did it, we had a mailing list of like 10,000 people. I would sell, CDs at shows, and we would make a good amount of money playing every night on a mailing list, right? But yeah, it was a good mailing list. But it wasn't like, but it was a totally regional. It was like just the East Coast of the U.S. You know what I mean? It wasn't like I you would think that if you had that on Instagram or something like that, we would do really well today. But who knows? Maybe we would be total flops in the Instagram world. You know what I mean? It's like you just don't know how you'd work. I mean, and even though that was a good mailing list, we never made it. We were so close to getting record contracts and getting dropped, and just not like never making it. You know what I mean? Yeah, we did an episode, like episode 0 is kind of that backstory of the band that I was in. It's me and those guys. We talk about how close we came and how would get dropped, and how we would, you know, we had the guy from one of the guys from Aerosmith produced our album. It sounds terrible. It says, we spent so much money on this thing that, it's just like you never know what the right decision is. Sometimes you just make decision for the wrong reasons, and it's there's luck involved, like you said before. Like you're never quite sure the right way to do things, and you can always look back and say you should do something different, or there's always a different way to do it. But I think the important thing is to just keep going, keep doing what you're doing. I kind of think you're doing it the right way. You're doing your postman job and sticking with your music and putting it out however you can. And yeah, you're not terribly heard right now, but you're not giving up, and you're going to keep on trying. You're going to go to Germany, or you're going to go to London, or you're going to keep on trying, and hopefully it works out for you. Give it a try. You never know until you try it. You don't know if it's going to work until you try it. Do you play your stuff live before you record it? Do you get the audience reaction and see what they think of it? Mm, yeah. Yeah. Good. It's crazy. It's crazy. It takes. I don't think people really. I think it was the Florentines episode. They talked about how much work it is. They're like, we know we're not working in coal mines or anything like that, but it's a lot of work being a musician. You're doing a lot of work, and they're 100% right. I mean, it's like it's not. If you're not working, you're not doing it right. I mean, if you're sitting back, I mean, recording, editing. I mean, it doesn't sound like you're doing a lot because you're just sitting at a computer, you're playing music, you're editing it, you're going over it, but you're listening to that same song 50 times and trying to get it just right. It's like, okay, you're not digging a hole, but it's work. I mean, it's not that easy to get it right. And I think, and like you said, you're calling PR agents, you're talking like, okay, now I'm going to fly to Germany. I'm going to be away from my family. I'm going to try to do an open mic night just to see if I can get some gigs. You're not getting paid for that. It's like, it's work, man. It's not easy. So I think that people need to, I think that, you're approaching it the right way where you're putting in the work. And man, I really hope it pays off for you. Yeah. Dude, it was really great to talk to you today. I really appreciate you spending some time with me. Yeah, it's usually a good sign. It's usually a good sign when the hour, yeah, when it flies by.
Find
You know,
yourself at war with the world again.
yeah. Good, man. Hey, check back in with me. I'd love to hear how it goes with you later on after you go to Germany. I'd love to hear the new songs when they come out. So stay in touch, man. All right. Take care, Rory. All right. Bye. Take care.
Crashing to the shore. Blood it is pumping, runs deep in my veins. Give me some pills, man, 'cause I'm sick of the pain, and I'm tired of this city, 'cause it all looks the same, and the truth it will hurt you, so don't say it again.
I hope you enjoyed my conversation with Rory Gillanders. We're now listening to a song of his called Wilderness, which is just another great song that I think he has. Every time I have one of these conversations, I can't help but root for these musicians. I kind of feel like I've become friends with them at the end of this hour. These are all just such great people that you can't help but pull for them. Rory's no exception. I hope you all go out and listen to his music. I hope you support him, and I hope he does really well. Until next time, this is The Underknown, and I'm your host, Jan Perillo. Thanks for listening.